Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And today I kind of feel inspired to talk about shamanism and basically to tell you what that shamanism isn't what you're told and isn't what you think. It's not what other people are doing. So, and then okay, Onyx, what do you mean? There's people who say they're shamans and they're waving feathers and burning sage and leading, spiritual retreats, and taking plant medicine. And I'm like, I guess you could call that some type of hybrid version of shamanism. But I feel like the essence of shamanism, accessing shamanic abilities, and being a shaman has nothing to do with that. And so, yes, explain yourself, Mr. Onyx. Explain yourself. And I'm going to say people have an over-education in all things spiritual. So you want to be psychic, so you want to be a witch, so you want to have magic powers, so you want to be a shaman, so you want to be a light worker, a channeler. This over-education blocks you from being connected to the actuality of it. So it's almost like you're like, I want to be the character called the shaman. What is the script? Let me get an education in the script. Now let me get the costume on. Let me get all the props. Let me do all the moves. And now I'm a shaman. I'm like, no, you're an actor. You're acting as the shaman. And you're like, but I've adopted all these ideas and I've adopted all these beliefs. And I took all these classes and I had all these certified experiences. And I've drank the Kool-Aid like everyone else in the group. And we're all having the same vision and dream and the same purpose and goals. And I'm like, yeah, you're, you know, you've drank the Kool-Aid. You've bought the ticket to go on the roller coaster ride and you're having that ride. But that's not who you are. And that's not what it is. Um, but you're definitely kind of channeling it through that. So at this point, I have to say, if you're feeling super triggered, if you find this too much, so you're having a reaction, then it's time to stop the videos, unsubscribe from my channel, and go. If you're like, I'm really into my culture, my heritage, my people, you've really created an identity link, so you're feeling triggered. This is my life calling, this is my purpose. It's time to get off my channel. And for the rest of us, let's move in more into this discussion. You know, so a lot of people want to tie shamanism into like a religion. They want to assume they're being guided by a holy, powerful force, and all their actions are either serving the community. They're playing psychologist, they're playing doctor, they're playing herbalist, they're playing spirit whisperer, they're playing all these different roles. And that really got promoted by Michael Horner, the anthropologist, who basically said shamans were the wise people and they were named shaman by the community. Okay? So traditionally, and I would say you don't claim yourself a shaman, but the tribe claims you as the shaman. They're like, you knew that was going to happen and whatever. Like that was one methodology. That got put out in Western culture. That was like kind of mainstream first books put out. People got this idea. So a lot of people will like leave religion or incorporate religion into their shamanic practices, um, to stay relevant. And so they can continue doing this practice. Um, so yeah, we're in very hot water talking about this because a lot of people are like, I'm directed by God. Jesus has called me, my angels, or aliens, or, something, my ancestors. We're cleaning up DNA. We're evolving. We hear all these stories and they basically say, I'm important, and I'm important because I'm doing something for other people. I'm a helper. I'm a I'm too good at helping. I'm going to help you out in a mystical way. You know, I'm going to play doctor. Doctor of magic is kind of what they're doing. And in my mind, that's uh it's like a balloon and no one is holding onto the balloon. We've let go of the string. The balloon is flying and it's not grounded anymore. It's lost reality. So everyone are on these escapist journeys through our subconscious, meeting archetypes, taking drugs to meet these archetypes, and trying to create meaning and value in their life. And they're kind of lost meaning and value and ability in this reality, you know? So I'm saying all good intentions, or I should say no good deed goes unpunished, you know? Isn't the path to hell paved with good intentions? So so we're going to flip it on its head and we're going to say, if you've watched some of my other videos, I've told you that everyone it's natural for humans to have a type of shamanic connection to all life and to look with the eyes of wonder. Um, and so there's a sense of mystical, a sense of enchantment. Some things I didn't really talk about is there's also a sense of play, a sense with something so mysterious and unknown. You're also very curious about it. So curiosity and play go together. Um, and so these elements, we're born with them. All children are. It's not for a select few, it's for everyone. Um, but some people have a natural talent and other people do not. That talent is a lot of it's based on their level of personal interest and curiosity. So some shamans are raised to be shamans. A culture, a tribe, a family may use traditional methods handed down, wisdom teachings handed down, connections from other planes handed down to groom someone to play this role. An excellent example of a living shaman is the Dalai Lama, who is completely choosing to take on that mantle and play this mystical authority. And so there is an example of someone who has taken the path that I am not talking about and yet talking about. So for everyone who got triggered and then still is listening to the video, I'm actually pointing to him as a classic example. You can chill out and understand. I understand. But this isn't about me. This is about, I'm having a discussion for people to help them understand a little bit more about shamanism. Maybe it's something you don't ever want to wish for, and you may be playing in it, and then you might find your niche, your area of interest. It might be card readings, it might be channeling spirits, it might be working with herbs. And you're like, okay, I'm good here. Or I know this is where my destiny lies. So for all these paths, they're like limitless roads. You've only scratched the surface of however deep you have dived in your area of expertise and interest. Now, let's get in a little bit about it. Shaman sickness is kind of a real thing. But a lot of the illness is not really talked about. And the illness that I'm talking about, so you may be a natural being with like some type of shamanic connection, it's hard to really label it. Your sickness comes about from your interactions with other people. They seem backwards, topsy-turvy, misunderstood, and extremely, I don't want to say toxic, or kind of messed up. Everything looks messed up to you. And I would say this is a true classic sign of a symptom that makes you possibly a candidate for shamanism. And for those very reasons, can be a lifelong illness, a true wounded healer. You actually might be seeing clearly in a world that refuses to be real, to be clear, to be honest, to be vulnerable, to be authentic. We get this other thing that everyone is. And so for you, it could be a very painful experience. So much so, you feel sick all the time. So much so, you may want to die. So much so, it feels like your body is going to war with all the energies around you. And every connection is extremely toxic. So it can be a very dissatisfying, very negative experience. And when you look at people, you might feel horrified. Like everything seems to be horrifying because you're seeing things very differently than everyone else. And so when you're coming from your perspective, you might get labeled as crazy. You might get labeled as weird or stupid or, so you might just kind of keep your mouth shut. And so you might be in a whole bunch of like self-soothing techniques. You might find yourself in a group of people and they're all escapists. You might find yourself in a spiritual group, but then you look around and everyone's just kind of escaping responsibility, escaping adulting, and escaping the work that needs to take place in cleaning up the planet, cleaning up relationships, cleaning up families, cleaning up your connections, your immediate connections to yourself, to your body, to your offspring, to your family unit. So, we're highly caught up into a culture that doesn't want to roll up their sleeves and really put forth the action that goes with the inner work. And so there's a breaking point where you have to realize it's not you. Even though we're all into this together, But humanity is in a mess. Humanity is deeply injured and is toxic, and it's gone unregulated for so long. It's horrifying to all your senses. The culture that we've created, this thing, and everyone's motivation is so off. It's, you can't understand it, you know? You might feel like you're the only one lifting up the world. You might feel like you're the only one who really wants real answers instead of something that just sounds nice. You're the only one who doesn't want everything with lots of sugar in it. Everyone else is craving for more sugar, more caffeine, more of some type of substance that's going to help numb the pain of resisting responsibility. So, that's a real good sign you're a candidate uh, for shamanism or developing some gift of yours. The gifts all come with a curse, and this is what New Agers don't talk about. If you're sensitive to energy and you feel energy, the curse of it is you're sensitive to energy and you feel it. So you kind of become the filter, the sponge, and you have to learn to release it. So a lot of your problems come from actually others. Just by the way our society is built. So let's move on, kind of. The overeducation is actually a really important point to discuss. Whether you're here for magic or here for shamanism and all things mystical, I would say the ego brain, or just that part of our linear brain, thinks information is helpful. It's getting tricked. And so it's like, ooh, information. Now I can do something with it. I'm going to take this workshop and I'm going to do this ritual, and I feel so empowered. And then, I know the stars, I know the planets, I know the timing of things. I figured out these calculations. And, I've read the 7 laws of Hermetic science. I understand it. I've read the Emerald Tablets. I've gone to magical schools online, and I've studied with people. They filled me with all this information, and now I'm really good at what I'm doing. I took all these art classes. I know everything about composition, and I know everything about 9 elements of design, and I know how to mix my colors, and now I can do art, and now I'm an artist, and now I'm like, all that was engaging the part of you that actually kind of gets destroyed, where it needs to be kept in check. And it's not so much about ego inflation, No, it's simply about just having too much information in your head. It acts like a smokescreen. It acts like a filter, and you don't get all of reality. And the shaman, kind of by definition, there's no middleman between you and source, you and reality, and you and what is. So Zen training is really, I would say, the remedy for shaman sickness and for a continuous kind of like mental flossing, clearing, getting back to you. If you're working with others or you have to face a difficult world, whatever it is, I can only speak for myself. I find meditation, spending time alone, hermiting, out casting myself, ostracizing myself, rejecting myself from groups is the way I find balance and peace and clarity. So I find that's my remedy. Time alone, back to me. So there will be sacrifices that have to be made, like the false identity, like the teenager version of you. These selves that have agendas, these selves that have hopes and dreams. I want to get married one day and have kids and a happy relationship and live in this pretty little house and have this nice little job and make a nice little income. That gets obliterated. This thing called a future, this thing called a dream. Wouldn't it be nice? What am I living for? To create this dream, live in the dream. That gets like a shotgun to it. It gets bullet holes ripped right through. It gets shredded. Um, so that would be like the dismemberment process. So we get the illness, there's this dismemberment that happens. And everyone is so unique. We can't really say, oh, that person on the street, they're a wise mystic connected. Maybe they're a real shaman or a saint. Let's go and find out. You can't really do that. Or through the path of drugs, these doors are going to open. Or I'm going to be healed. I'm going to meet the ancestors or these multidimensional God beings, these entities. I'm going to learn the mysteries of magic and sacred knowledge. You might have some encounters. But I'm going to say, as I've observed over the years, friends in these different type of groups, playing with drugs, playing with plant medicine, playing with other people's culture that doesn't truly belong to them and the way they were actually raised causes more problems in the long run. These spiritual teachings don't replace a licensed professional therapist. They don't replace a relationship coach. They don't replace a life coach or a medical doctor. Real issues get handled with real education, kind of from the real world. So we think holistic, multidisciplinary. So you have to work with both. You have to work with everything available, to solve situations. So with this sacrifice of your matrix dream, your identities, hopes, wishes, this sense of self, this ambition, this need, you could definitely call it a type of ego death. It has to happen, or maybe you were born already in the process. An ego death isn't just, oh, I got hit by a lightning bolt, or I went through a trauma. It can be a lifetime. Your whole life can be a shedding of more and more parts of you. And you become very conscious of things dying. But you also get very conscious of things coming to life, replacing the things that have died. So new gifts come online. I would say after you've raised your kids, the gift is you get to come back to yourself, pick up your life where you left off, and enjoy yourself again. So, a life being a mother, a life being a father, and taking care of young kids, you sacrifice so much. You had to sacrifice a piece of yourself. You kind of reclaim that when you're done with that project. But then, in order to reclaim it, you had to sacrifice what you once were. So at each stage of the human experience, sacrifice, death, reclaiming, rebirthing, but it will never be exactly the same because you've already been there. Um, so another thing I would say is very true about shamans is this weird changeability, uh, kind of shapeshifter ish, but things are moving along. There's a sense of energy, a sense of almost, I would call it almost like an evolving, growing, learning, transforming being. So, say you, and I would say this is a clear sign of an actual shaman versus someone who's caught up into the character. Uh, the stereotype, the image, the perception of it. The actual shaman is shifting all the time. And it's not like dramatic, like a wardrobe change or a gender change, but it can happen. Uh, it's just the flexibility, their perspective could change. It could see things. These realizations and enlightenments can be very deep, can be very, subtle. Um, but the energy changes, the course direction changes, the life flows like a river. Um, so things can change. There's really so much. As I look over my notes, going, did we cover everything? What have we really not talked about? Why did I even make this video? Because me and my friend were thinking about channeling, a deck of oracle cards. She really wants me to draw some pictures so she can color them in. And then we thought we could work on our channeling abilities. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to commit to this project or not. So then yesterday, I was like, okay, let's channel. I was like, it's been a while. So let's tap in. And for me, I was coming back to this place. And I was like, it's a place in an inner realm. And things were making sense. And it was like this, I'm in this alternate reality in inner space. I'm going through a process that here in this dimension, time runs differently. So literally, I'm still stuck in this day in this other realm. And it's moving along at snail's pace from my perception here. So I'm getting into this temple of the gods. And obviously, I've probably only been there an hour, but here it's been 5 years. And every once in a while, I get glimpses of what's going on over there during the last hour. And so, at least it was reminiscent of that. Then I was like, okay, let's write. Let's try to channel writing and stuff. And I was writing some stuff down. And a lot of it was basically um, I was at this point and everything was kind of like being sucked in like a black hole. And right on the edge of the black hole, new life is being spit out. And so it's a fine line to the go into the mystery. And usually on your journey into the mystery, right, there's like the event horizon, life is being created and spit out. So it's like life, death, and rebirth all happen at this event horizon. But if you cross over, you go into no definition. So it was like this extreme yin yang experience. And the image or spatial experience was like going through a black hole or circling a black hole or being near the event horizon and just having an experience of, so in the tree of life it would be the throat chakra. I think some people call it dullet or dot, but it's the 11th sphere is really what Kabbalistically, Western Mystery School style, I'm having an experience in the 11th sphere. That's where I'm at in the tree of life, using the tree of life as a shamanic roadmap through these states of existence. And it was awesome. And I come back to reality and I have my information. And then I'm like, on one level, it's not useful. The experience itself was useful. And am I going to go write a book about it? No. Was, and the information that I come back with is like a postcard compared to actually going there, being there, having a full sensory experience there. Like a postcard isn't, that's like 1%. I come back with 1% and we lose the 99% in a way. And I'm like, isn't this just great? I keep having all these extreme experiences, and the reality is so much gets lost. Words can't convey. I've become really good at words and storytelling and symbolic expression, and in my mind it makes a lot more sense, but I really have no idea how it makes sense in someone else's mind. And I feel like shamans are stuck in this situation their whole life, going, I'm experiencing things, knowing things, and it kind of gets lost in translation. Things get a little juxtaposed. Things seem a little scrambled or different when they're not. But the shaman, I believe, is always being called to the mystery and then being